Escalating Global News Update. I am Toibifa Jackridge. Israel killed Hamas deputy leader Saleh al-Arouri in a drone strike in Lebanon's capital, Beirut, on Tuesday. Lebanese and Palestinian security sources said, raising the potential risk of the war in Gaza spreading well beyond the Palestinian enclave. Al-Arouri, 57, was the first senior Hamas political leader to be assassinated since Israel launched a shattering air and ground offensive against the group almost 3 months ago, after its shocked assault and rampage into Israel town. Lebanon's heavily armed Hezbollah group, a Hamas ally, has been exchanging near daily fire with Israel across Lebanon's southern border since the war in Gaza began in October. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah has warned Israel against carrying out any assassination on Lebanese soil, vowing a severe reaction. Hezbollah said on Tuesday it had targeted a group of Israeli soldiers in the vicinity of Marj with missiles following Al-Arouri's killing. Israel has long accused Al-Arouri of lethal attacks on its citizens, but a Hamas official said he was also at the heart of negotiations conducted by Qatar and Egypt over the outcome of the Gaza war and the release of Hamas-held Israeli hostages. Israel neither confirmed nor denied carrying out the killing, but its military spokesperson, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, said Israeli forces were in a high state of readiness and prepared for any scenario. The death toll from an earthquake that struck Japan on New Year's Day rose to 64 on Wednesday as authorities rushed to bring aid to survivors facing freezing temperatures and heavy rain forecast for later in the day. The quake, with a preliminary magnitude of 7.6, struck the Noto Peninsula on Monday afternoon. The quake, with a preliminary magnitude of 7.6, struck the Noto Peninsula on Monday afternoon, leveling houses and cutting off remote areas from aid. Heavy rains were forecast in the quake-hit areas on Wednesday, raising fear of landslides that could further hinder efforts to free many more people trapped on the rubble. Severed roads, damaged infrastructures, and the remote location of the hardest-hit areas have complicated rescue efforts. The full extent of damage and casualties remain unclear 2 days after the quake. Authorities have confirmed 64 deaths, up from 55 late on Tuesday, making the earthquake deadliest in Japan since at least 2016. Smaller quakes continue to hit the peninsula. Firefighters in Osaka and Nara prefectures pressed despite the rain and aftershock, searching for a woman trapped in a wooden structure crushed by a 7th-floor building which collapsed sideways. The rescuers were removing rubble to try to reach the woman, who was not showing any vital signs. A firefighter said the government opened a sea route to deliver aid and some larger trucks are now able to reach some of the more remote areas. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida told a press conference following a national disaster response meeting. Ukraine launched 12 missiles and several drones in the early hours of Wednesday on Russia's southern region of Belgorod, Russia's defense ministry and local authorities said. Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said the situation continues to remain tense in Belgorod, where Russia says 25 civilians, including 5 children, were killed in Ukrainian attacks on Saturday. There was no word of any casualties from the latest attack. Gladkov said the extent of damage would be assessed throughout the day. Ukraine's escalation of attack on Belgorod over the New Year period has come as Russia launched some of its most intense strikes on Ukraine since the war began almost 2 years ago. Kyiv said on Tuesday that Russia had launched well over 300 attack drones and missiles of various kinds of cities across Ukraine since Friday. Belgorod, like other Russian regions on the border with Ukraine, has seen frequent low-level attacks since the start of the war, but Saturday's was by far the deadliest. President Vladimir Putin said it would not go unpunished. 1 person was killed and 7 more wounded in the region on Tuesday, Russian authorities said. In Wednesday's attack, Russia's defense ministry said Ukraine fired 6 Toka-U ballistic missiles and 6 guided missiles launched by a Velka heavy multiple rocket launcher. Gladkov said Ukraine also launched several drones on the region and the city of Belgorod, which is the administrative center of the region. South Korea's opposition Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung remained hospitalized in intense care on Wednesday, a day after a knife attack on him shocked political leaders who were vying for the upper hand in a major election 3 months away. Surgeons operated on Lee for more than 2 hours late on Tuesday to repair a major blood vessel in his neck that was sliced when an assailant lunged and stabbed him with a knife. He urged a speedy investigation and tougher security for high-profile political figures, echoing renewed questions about the safety on campaign trails in a country with a history of political violence. Despite tight restrictions on gun ownership, Jin Jianghua, a party supporter who was a witness at the scene of the stabbing, said incidents clearly showed the need for stronger and professional security protection for political leaders, not simply police who are deployed to monitor. South Korea holds a pivotal election on April 10, where the conservatives will try to win back a majority for the first time since 2016 and help Pyongyang's pro-business policies, including tax cuts, deregulation, and social reforms. Lee was airlifted from Busan, where the attack occurred, to Seoul on Tuesday, where he received surgery to reconstruct the jugular vein that pumped blood from the head back to the heart and insert a tube to support the damaged vessel. Lee lost to Young by less than 1 percentage point of vote, the narrowest margin in a bitterly fought presidential election, and has since faced bribery allegations stemming from a development project when he was mayor of a city near Seoul. He denies wrongdoing. President Joe Biden will observe the 3rd anniversary of the January 6 attacks on the U.S. Capitol with a political speech near the historic Revolutionary War site in Valley Forge, where he will make the case that his top Republican rival, Donald Trump, poses an existential threat to democracy. The re-election campaign said on Wednesday the stop near the war encampment in Pennsylvania will be followed by a campaign visit on Monday to Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina, where a white supremacist in 2015 killed 9 parishioners at the historic black church. Biden will focus on what campaign described as rising threat of political violence. Taken together, the 2 visits will represent Biden's most direct public attack this election cycle on Trump and the Republican Party he controls, representing a shift in tone after spending much of 2023 touting his signature legislation and economy. Trump faces federal charges for his wide-ranging attempt to overturn the 2020 election and was kicked off ballots in Colorado and Maine due to his role in following the Capitol attack. Lawyers from Trump have disputed that he engaged in insurrection and argued that his remarks on the day of the 2021 riot were protected by his rights to free speech. In the upcoming weeks, the Biden re-election campaign will ratchet up operations and events, including hiring key directors in all 50 states and hitting the airways with new ads. Vice President Kamala Harris is also expected to speak at the early voting primary state of South Carolina on Saturday and again on Martin Luther King Jr. Day later this month, where she is also expected to take a message about threats to democracy to the state's largely black Democratic electorates. That is the size of top accolade global news updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Wednesday.